So, the hottest topic in America right now is this book. Fire and Fury. It's the book that claims to blow the lid off scandals and shady business surroundings at the current White House resident is dealing with, and his crew. So please welcome author Michael Wolff. Welcome, Michael Wolff. So, my biggest... all of the stuff that's in here is like a second to second almost. It's just like your face is just moving the entire time. But my question to you is, who thought giving you this much access was going to be a good idea?
Well, I think that's the thing. Nobody thought this through. And there's another thing, and it's sort of good and bad. When you say, I'm doing a book to people, they completely lose interest in politics.
Right.
Oh, a book. And I said to the president, I said, I'd like to come down and, maybe observe. And actually, he thought I was asking for a job. And I said, no, I want to write a book. He said, a book. And it was clearly, why would you want to do
What's
that?
What's a book?
And then it was kind of like, yeah, sure, knock yourself out. So then I went around to everyone and said, the president says he's given me his approval on this. And then they were a little, and then they went back to the president, and he said, oh, yeah, okay. So literally, I just sort of slipped in through the cracks.
Yeah, and lucky us.
What, 18 months?
Well, I started talking to the president, covering the president in June of 2016. But in the White House, obviously, just after the inaugural,
right.
I went in, and then I kind of finished up as Bannon was pushed out in August. That's when it was like, okay, I got to write this
Michael,
book.
to get into the White House, so they let a Wolff into the White House. You got to have a pass. You got to be cleared. You got to go through gates. Who put you on that list?
Well, everyone was basically told, I'm writing this book. Yeah. Why don't you have a chat with him? And so then you go down the list. You call up. You make your appointments. They put you on the list. You get passed in, and then you're sitting in the West Wing. The West Wing is very small.
Right.
So you're sitting on this couch in the West Wing for your 10 o'clock appointment, and your 10 o'clock appointment never happens. Your 10 o'clock appointment, if you're lucky, happens at 3 o'clock. So you're sitting in this White House, seeing everything
Like a fly on the couch.
Yeah, completely. And the reception area is a kind of pass-through area.
And you hear everything.
So you hear everything, you see everything, and then people get used to you. So you're sitting there, and someone who you've spoken to sees you and say, oh, who are you waiting for? And I said, I'm, Steve Bannon. And they go, oh, God, Bannon. That means, that means hours from now. So then they say, oh, well, come back. Let's have a chat. Because,
wow.
And you're just hoping every day that somebody is not going to say,
get out.
What does he do? What?
And they never did, obviously.
Yeah, they never did.
I have a question for you. One of the, and I really enjoyed your book.
Thank you.
One of the recurring themes, though, is Trump's mental stability. And you say that 100% of the people around him question his intelligence and fitness for office, calling him a moron and an idiot. But he calls himself a stable genius, okay? So you got to see firsthand as that fly on the wall, was he a moron or a stable genius?
Well, it's very important that this is not my impressions of the president. It's the impressions of the people around him. Mm-hmm. So that's the conversation I was having with them every day. And I actually watched the change take place. Mm-hmm. In those early days, raw Trump, and we're doing this, and then it sort of went to raw Trump, we're doing this, but then they would go and then it rolled further to real concern. Mm-hmm. I mean, we don't know what's going on. I mean, he's doing these things. I mean, that's where the 25th Amendment thing started to come up. And people would say, okay, this is wackadoo. I mean, it's probably not 25th Amendment stuff yet.
No.
Everybody, and I've said this everywhere, 100%, and everybody says, well, it can't be 100%. It is 100% of the senior staff of this White House, the people dealing with him on a daily basis, who said, this is unusual.
He's unstable.
This is, it's not just unstable, it's unpredictable, erratic.
Right. So let me ask you something, because yesterday at the DACA meeting, I sort of felt like maybe he did that meeting to show you and other skeptics out there that he's not the whack job that everybody's saying he is.
That's clearly what happened there. I mean, this is, you know, this.
Did he succeed, do you think, in making that point? Because he seemed okay to me yesterday.
Yeah, well, I mean, he didn't seem to know what the policy was, and he didn't seem to particularly care about the policy, which is pretty much the thing. You do it.
Well, that's
go do it.
That's more like he's unprepared and incompetent, but it doesn't speak to his insanity, perhaps, or his neurotic behavior.
And I cannot speak to his whether he's is insane or has dementia or any of these things, which are legitimate questions. All I can do is say what people told me. And you know, one of the constant themes, and among the most disconcerting ones, were the repetitions. And they would monitor these, because when you speak to this guy, and remember, this is the whole nature of being president, is people speaking to you, of having to communicate information.
Right.
And you would sit with him, and he would repeat the same stories over and over again.
That's that short-term memory loss thing that I keep talking about.
A weird thing, and then they would set a measure on this. You know, it used to be that in 30 minutes he would tell the same stories, and then it was in 10 or 15 minutes he would tell the same three stories.
Michael, let me ask you, because you know, when you were in the White House, being the wolf in the hen house, Steve Bannon was like Lex Luthor. He was trying to, you know, control the world, control the White House, control the Republican Party. He was one of the most important men, most powerful men in America. Today, he's Steve Jobsless. He is out at Breitbart, deported from Breitbart. They did get one bad hombre. He is out of the White House. He had a fight with Trump over the Republican base, and he's lost. He's lost his biggest funders and donors. Do you think it is a direct result of this book, and is this something that you expected?
It certainly wasn't something I expected, and it's certainly not something that I feel good about. I came to like Steve.
You feel sorry for him?
No, I feel good. He says he doesn't feel good. I do.
Right.
I don't agree with anything. Probably 100% of what Steve says, I probably don't agree with. But I came to appreciate A, his insights, and B, to believe that this was a man who thought he had a job to do, who had his eye on the prize, who was very focused, and who had made this interesting compromise that he was going to do this with Donald Trump. And shortly after arriving in this White House, he began to understand that Donald Trump was not a Trumpism, and Donald Trump were at a significant distance from each other. And I think Steve wrestled with that in very, very tough ways. And ultimately, I was the recipient of his enormous frustration.
So you're the reason he's out.
I am the reason he's out.
Give the man a Nobel Peace Prize.
In this book, you refer to, or I guess Bannon refers to, Nikki Haley as a Jarvanka Republican. Nikki Haley is a very respected conservative, both in conservative circles and in Trump supporters. She's actually one of these magic unicorns that is respected by both segments. I don't understand why you would include this reductive slogan, and would Bannon and you call me a Jarvanka Republican?
You know, I think Steve's point was she was introduced into the White House, and her effective sponsor in the White House was Ivanka Trump. And so she was wholly aligned with that side of the White House. And let's remember, the White House was absolutely split. There was no, I mean, this is one of the central problems of this White House. It's not as if we're all trying to reflect Donald Trump's beliefs and arrive at some consensus about that and agreement on how we proceed. This was really three different White Houses. There was the Jarvanka White House.
What's that?
Well, that's what Jared and Ivanka, Hope Hicks.
Jarvanka.
You know,
So Steve Bannon thought she wasn't qualified or conservative enough to work in the administration.
He was. I don't think even that was the issue. The issue was she was aligned with them, and they were against him. And against, I mean, I don't mean just means against. They regarded each of these factions, the Jarvanka side, the Bannon side, and the Priebus side, regarded the others as basically assassins.
Wow.
It's like Game of Thrones.
It's so juicy.
It's insane.
Well, it's
I mean, we got some extra time, so I guess we're going to say that Michael Wolff is going to stick around. Okay? So we'll be right back.